CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I noticed that these kind of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might make the experience a little creepier. So tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? My uncle worked at Area 51. His missing diary just showed up on the dark web. Yo, what's up Reddit? This is gonna sound absolutely insane, but I swear on everything, this story is 100% real. I've been debating posting this for a while, because it sounds like one of those clickbait, my uncle works at Nintendo type stories. But this isn't a game. Something is seriously wrong, and it all started with a cardboard box that showed up at my door last month. For context, I'm a 20-year-old guy living just outside of Las Vegas. I go to community college, I work at a GameStop, and honestly, I'm pretty boring. I like Reddit, horror podcasts, and watching those creepy animation YouTube channels at 2 a.m. when I can't sleep. So when I say I wasn't looking for this kind of story, I really wasn't. But life doesn't always wait for your consent, you know? Anyway, the box. It showed up on August 23rd. No return address, no stamps. Just a plain brown package with my name written in Sharpie, like someone had scribbled it 5 seconds before dropping it off. It was 3 a.m. and I was pulling an all-nighter playing Baldur's Gate 3, and I almost didn't notice the knock on the door. It wasn't even a normal knock. It was slow, like knock, knock, knock. Just 3. No doorbell, no footsteps running away, just complete silence afterward. I opened the door with my phone flashlight on because the porch light's been busted since March. Lazy, I know. No one was there, just this box, about the size of a shoebox, kinda heavy, taped shut with black duct tape. My name was written on top, J-A-C-K-W, no last name, no address, just Jack W., which is what really threw me off. On everything, I only go by Jack online, not Jack W., not my full name. Only my uncle used to call me that, and he's been missing for almost 3 years. Let me back up a bit. My uncle's name was Marcus Weller, or is, I don't know anymore. He was in the Air Force back in the day, and supposedly got recruited into some secret military division after 9/11. The family always whispered about it during Thanksgiving like, oh, you know Marcus is into that government stuff. But no one ever asked questions. He was never around long enough anyway. He'd show up once every couple years, usually looking over his shoulder and talking in riddles. Dude was a walking conspiracy theory. The last time I saw him, I was 16. He gave me this cheap silver lighter and told me, if anything ever happens to me, don't trust the news. Look deeper. The real truth lives in the wires. I laughed it off. I mean, come on. Lives in the wires? Bro was straight out of a creepypasta. But after that, vanished. No calls, no visits. My mom tried to file a missing person report, but the base said he'd been discharged. No records, no explanation, nothing. So fast forward to this weird-ass box on my doorstep. I bring it inside, and right away, my dog Winston starts going nuts. He's a 9-year-old golden retriever, calm as hell normally, but he's barking like there's a burglar in the box, growling, teeth out. I've never seen him like that. At this point, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is sketchy. I put the box on the kitchen table and grab a knife. The duct tape is thick, like industrial level thick, and it takes a few tries to get it open. Inside, just one thing, a black leather journal, old, burnt around the edges, the initials MW carved into the front. My heart legit dropped into my stomach. It was his handwriting. I recognized it instantly. I flipped the first page, and written in blue ink was, "If you're reading this, they haven't found you yet. You have about 3 days before the signals trace back. Whatever you do, don't connect to the network." What network? What signals? Bro, what are you talking about? The pages were filled with chicken scratch notes, sketches of weird diagrams, coordinates, timelines, phrases like level 6 equals genetic trials, and the boy in room 19 is not human. Some pages were just full of symbols, circles with X's in them, weird looping text that looked like a mix of Sanskrit and binary code. One page said, "I tried to leak it once. They shut down the entire IP range in under 6 minutes. The files still live on the dark web. Use the key. Gate 6 protocol. Tor browser only. Pray they're still dormant." I swear to God, I started shaking. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept the journal by my bed, and every time I closed my eyes, I swore I could hear static, like actual white noise, humming in the walls. Winston wouldn't come near the journal. He just laid under the bed and whimpered. At one point, I woke up around 4 a.m. and my phone was on, like it turned itself on, and the camera was open, just pointed at the ceiling. I never leave the camera open. I know how this sounds. I know you're probably thinking, just a prank, or mental breakdown, or whatever. I wish it was that simple, but it gets worse, so much worse, because I opened the Tor browser and I typed in the key, and what I found wasn't just government documents. It was a live stream, and my uncle was in it, but he wasn't the same. The live stream didn't have a title, no chat, no description, just a grainy green tinted feed that looked like it was shot from a ceiling camera, like the kind you'd see in a hospital psych ward. At first, it was just static, glitchy vertical lines, the screen twitching every few seconds, like the camera was fighting something behind the lens. But then the signal cleared, and I saw it. A single, windowless concrete room, fluorescent light buzzing overhead, and a man sitting perfectly still in the center of it, hunched forward in a folding metal chair. He wasn't restrained, he wasn't shackled, but he didn't move, not even to blink. The camera zoomed, on its own, and I swear to God, I saw my uncle's face, or something that looked like my uncle. The eyes weren't right. They were open, wide, but they looked dead, like plastic eyeballs in a Halloween store mask. And his skin, it looked stretched, waxy, almost melted in places, like it had been artificially preserved. You know that uncanny valley feeling when you look at a wax figure and your brain goes, "Nope, that ain't human." It was that, but breathing. I tried to take a screenshot. The second I hit print screen, the browser crashed. Full shutdown. Everything on my laptop locked up. My speakers emitted this high-pitched whining noise, like a dying hard drive. Then my screen turned black and displayed a single line of red text. Access violation. Room 19 is a protected zone. Do not attempt to capture. I ripped the power cord out. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I didn't know what to do. I hadn't even touched the journal again yet. That was just from entering the Gate 6 key. The thing is, when you hear Area 51, You think of aliens, UFOs, men in black type stuff, right? That's what I expected too. But the diary? It doesn't talk about aliens. It talks about manufacturing people. I spent the next 3 days reading the entire journal, every single page, each one more disturbing than the last. Some pages were actual journal entries from Marcus. Some were surveillance logs, written in shorthand military code. Others were taped in photos, old Polaroids, printed pages, scraps of documents that looked like they were literally stolen from a fire. One even had bloodstains on it, dried, dark brown. I'm not even exaggerating. It smelled like rusted pennies. The most recurring phrase in the journal. Room 19 was a prototype. The boy was never meant to leave. If he gets out, they'll erase the western seaboard to cover it. At first, I thought it was just metaphorical. I mean, what kind of boy could erase the entire western seaboard? But then there was the map. It was printed on old yellowed paper, like something out of Cold War archives. It had the outline of the US Southwest, and highlighted in red ink with circles labeled Gate 1, Observation Facility, Kansas. Gate 3, Containment, Arizona Desert. Gate 6, Area 51, Internal Trials, Success, Subject 19. The notes beside Gate 6 were scribbled over, like someone had desperately tried to erase them with a pen, but I could still make out. Initial DNA sample derived from NHP23 and Child 31. Artificial emotional suppression successful. Subject experiences no pain, no fear, no concept of death. Self-repairing tissue tested on live dismemberment trials. Duration 4 hours before recovery was complete. 4 hours. This wasn't alien. This was man-made. A human weapon. A thing pretending to be a kid. That night, I had my first blackout. I remember going to bed at 2:47 a.m. I had my phone charging, earphones in, watching random TikToks to drown out the static in my head. I blinked, and then suddenly, I was in my backyard, standing in the dark, barefoot, with a journal in my hands, and my fingers stained with something black and sticky, like used motor oil. My nose was bleeding. My lips were cracked. I looked down and saw muddy footprints, mine, leading from the back door, through the wet grass, to the fence. And on the inside of the fence, written in something red and glossy, were the words, "The boy is not contained." My phone was still playing in my room, volume maxed, but the video had changed. It was a live stream of my own house, from the woods behind it. That was when I realized I wasn't alone. I tried to go to the police the next morning. I didn't even bring the journal. I just said I had a stalker, maybe someone messing with my tech. The officer was nice at first, took down my info, started typing it into the system. Then his screen froze. He clicked a few times, then squinted at the monitor. He leaned closer, and I swear, I saw all the color drain from his face. He clicked once more, then looked at me with this weird forced smile. "You said your name was Jack Weller, right?" "Yeah." He stared at the screen again. His eyes were watering. "I'm sorry, sir. There's no record of you in the system at all." I laughed, thought it was a joke. But then he printed something and handed it to me. A single piece of paper with my driver's license photo. Underneath it, it said, "Status, deceased, August 23rd, 2022. Classified, level 6. Protocol active. Observation continues." I ran. Didn't even go home. Just grabbed Winston and drove straight out of Vegas. No GPS, just highways. I ended up crashing at an old gas station near Death Valley. The clerk there, Some ex-con dude named Trevor let me sleep behind the building with Winston. Said weirdos came through there all the time, that I wasn't even the creepiest thing this week. We laughed about it, but at 4 a.m., Trevor came running around the back screaming, completely out of breath, holding something in his hand. It was a printed photo, a fresh one, like someone had taken it from inside the gas station 5 minutes ago and developed it. It was a picture of me, sleeping, with Winston in my lap, and standing behind me in the shadow, a tall, pale figure with eyes like glass marbles, no eyebrows, no mouth, just those dead plastic eyes, and a single black tattoo across its throat that said 19. I didn't even pack. We left instantly. Trevor gave me a burner phone and a pistol, told me to never come back. I haven't gone home since. I'm currently staying in a Starbucks just outside Bakersfield. I'm using public Wi-Fi, spoofed IP, burner everything. I check the stream every night and it's always up. Same room, same camera. Except now, my uncle's not alone anymore. There's a second chair in the frame, and it's empty. But every night, it moves an inch closer to him. And last night, it was facing the camera. If you've read this far, just remember, there's a reason they buried this. My uncle wasn't crazy. Room 19 isn't a myth. It's real, and it wants out. Don't look for the stream. Don't search the code. And if you see a boy with eyes that don't blink, run. I'm riding this from a Greyhound bus heading north. I don't even know where I'm going anymore. Seattle, maybe. I've been hopping stations, using cash, switching jackets at gas stations, like I'm playing a game of survival I didn't sign up for. And the sick part is, I'm starting to think I was meant to find the journal. Like it was planted, like he knew I wouldn't be able to leave it alone. But something is wrong with me now, not just mentally, not paranoia, physically. My veins are turning black. I can't go to the hospital. I've already tried. The second they scanned my ID at the ER in Fresno, alarms went off, actual alarms, and the power in the whole building went out. I watched 2 nurses' noses start bleeding just from looking at my chart. They started seizing. One of them vomited teeth. I ran. I didn't look back. It started 3 nights ago. The veins. I was asleep in a dirty motel outside Sacramento. Bugs in the sheets. The ceiling fan creaked like it was about to snap and fall into my face. Winston was curled up in the corner, tail between his legs. I hadn't eaten in 2 days, just gas station coffee and a bag of trail mix. I woke up to a sound, not outside, not from the hallway, from under the bed. It was like laughing, but not human laughter. It was mechanical, broken, like a child pretending to laugh without knowing what laughing is. I leaned over the edge of the bed. Nothing. But there was something written on the underside of the mattress in what looked like burned-in letters. The ones that remember are the ones that bleed. I pulled the mattress off the bed frame. There were scratch marks. Dozens of them. Deep, ragged scratches that dug into the plywood under the mattress. Some of them were numbers. Coordinates, maybe. One of them was a date. August 23rd, 1999. I recognized it immediately. That was the day I was born. I turned to Winston. He was growling, not at the mattress, at me. That's when I saw my reflection in the cracked motel mirror. My eyes had started changing. The whites of my eyes were gray, almost translucent, and my veins, starting from my neck down to my collarbones, were turning black, not like bruises, more like ink running through glass. Something was inside me. Back in the journal, there's an entry Marcus wrote in red ink. One of the few times he wrote anything emotionally. We shouldn't have tried to duplicate the consciousness. The original was never stable to begin with. Every time we ran the tethering, the memory wiped halfway, but something always came back. Some piece of it, like the trauma had embedded itself into the code. We didn't clone a subject. We copied a memory, a corrupted one. The rest of the page is scribbled out, except one line, written sideways along the margin. If you're reading this, he already sees you. You're the keyframe. That word, keyframe, it didn't make sense until later. The next night, I broke into a public library in a small mountain town. Internet cafes are basically extinct, and I needed a real terminal, one that wasn't traceable. I plugged the USB stick from the back of the journal into the library PC. Yes, the journal had a USB drive embedded into the back cover. I hadn't dared to use it until now, but I didn't have a choice. I had to know what this thing was turning me into. There was only one file on the drive, a video file called frame0.mp4. It was only 13 seconds long. It starts with black, then a slow fade into a home video. Early 90s quality. There's a child's birthday party happening, balloons, a Chuck E. Cheese mascot dancing, laughter, but it's all silent, no sound. The camera zooms in on a boy in the corner of the room. He's not smiling, just staring at the camera, completely motionless. Then the camera glitches, static rips the frame, and the scene changes. Same room, but the party is over. Everything is destroyed, balloons popped, tables overturned, and there are bodies, children, adults. Their eyes are gone, hollow sockets, like something had eaten into them. The video pans slowly to the boy, still sitting in the corner, still staring, and then, in the last frame, he stands up and smiles. The screen goes black, and one line of white text appears. The first frame never forgets. He is always rendering. The library power cut out instantly. Alarms blared. Fire sprinklers exploded from the ceiling. I left the building soaked, barefoot, holding Winston under one arm and the journal under the other. But the worst part? When I checked the surveillance feed that night, the one I found on the dark web, the second chair was gone. I think I'm not just being hunted. I think I'm being replaced. There's something I haven't told you yet. Something I didn't even let myself believe until I went back through Marcus's notes. At the very end of the journal, there's a page taped shut with skin glue. Yeah, real skin. It said, the final page can only be opened when you've seen him, not on a screen. Not through code. With your own eyes, I hadn't done that. Until last night. I stopped at a gas station in Washington around 2 a.m., middle of nowhere. Place looked abandoned. Flickering neon sign. No cars. No lights. Just one guy working the counter. Pale dude. Shaky hands. Kept staring at me like he was trying to remember my face. I asked if they had any bottled water. He didn't answer, just pointed at the back cooler. I went to grab one. When I turned around, he was gone. Just gone. Vanished. I walked back to the counter. There was a mirror behind the register, and in the reflection, I wasn't alone. He was standing behind me, inches away. No footsteps, no breathing, no sound. The boy from room 19. But he looked exactly like me. Same hoodie, same face, same scar on my eyebrow from falling off my bike when I was 11. But the eyes, they were black, completely, not like shadow, not like blood, like a hole had been carved into his soul. He whispered, but it wasn't with his mouth. It was inside my head. We are the render. You are just a frame. I turned around. He was gone. I looked back in the mirror, still there, staring, not moving. I screamed and threw the bottle at the glass. The whole mirror shattered, and when I looked at the pieces on the floor, there were dozens of versions of me, all with black eyes, all smiling. When I got back to the bus, I opened the final page. Inside was a single drawing, a body farm, rows and rows of people hanging from metal trees, wires in their eyes, tubes in their mouths, all of them wearing military tags, and in the center was me, stripped, flayed, hooked to a screen, and beneath me the words, "Render complete, memory secured, host body discarded." I don't think this is about Area 51 anymore. This is something older, something hiding in data, in video, in code, in frames. They don't clone people, they record them. And once you've seen the render, you never leave it. If you're reading this, I hope it's not too late. Unplug your device. Don't look in the mirror. Don't watch any unexplained live streams. And whatever you do, don't watch yourself sleep. Have you ever heard your own voice in a room you were never in? I don't mean like a recording, not an echo. I mean you hear yourself speak in a place you've never stood, to people you've never met, saying things you've never said, except the voice is yours. The cadence is perfect, the phrasing, the breath, even the little laugh you do when you're uncomfortable. That's what happened to me last night. I'm no longer sure if I'm Jack Weller, and I don't think it matters anymore. The bus never made it to Seattle. Somewhere near Tacoma, I started to smell burning plastic. No one else noticed. The driver kept going. I asked the lady next to me if she could smell it. She smiled politely and said, "You're still buffering. Don't worry, it always smooths out by the third render." I looked around the bus. Nobody was blinking. I mean, nobody. Not one person on the entire bus had blinked once. Some of them were even smiling, like frozen, like mannequins in Walmart that someone tried to animate with just a little too much effort. I stood up, ready to yell, to demand the driver pull over. And that's when the world skipped, literally skipped, like a glitch in a video game. One frame, I'm standing. The next, I'm outside the bus, walking through a wheat field at night, still holding the journal, still barefoot. But there was no sound, no wind, no bugs, no crunch of grass, just silence, like someone muted the world. And then my voice spoke, not from me, from the wheat. "You shouldn't have read the final page. You're part of the archive. Now, let me try to explain this the best I can. But know this. This isn't a story anymore. It's a recording. Everything I say now is part of them. I'm still fighting, but I can feel them using my language, my thoughts, my rhythm. You might hear my voice when you're scrolling YouTube or watching a TikTok late at night, and suddenly it's not the creator speaking anymore. It's someone imitating me. But back to the field. After my voice spoke, the wheat began to tilt, not from wind, but from something beneath it, like a snake, a giant one. No footsteps, just this movement under the soil, fast and fluid, like a mole tunneling with hunger. And then, in the middle of the field, I saw rows of white structures. At first, I thought they were graves, but they were server towers, tall metal racks humming softly, and hanging from wires around them were human bodies, suspended upside down, like sides of beef. Some still twitched. Some were cut open from sternum to pelvis, exposing their insides, but not blood, No organs, just wires, cords, tubes, small LCD screens embedded into their ribcages, playing memories on loop. I walked past one, and it was showing my 10th birthday. The SpongeBob cake, the backyard, my mom hugging me, my uncle filming with his old camcorder, all playing in sickening, perfect HD, right in the chest cavity of a dead man who looked just like me, except his eyes were sewn shut with HDMI cables. This wasn't Area 51. This wasn't even the government. This was a memory farm, a place where they harvest identities, personalities, voices, facial tics, trauma responses, pain, love, fear, all turned into data, compressed, rendered, and then distributed across media, across the internet, across people. I don't know how long I was walking. Could have been hours, days. Time doesn't move here the same way. But eventually, I found a control panel embedded in the dirt, like one of those old school computer lab interfaces, CRT monitor, green on black text. When I touched the keyboard, the screen flickered. Then it typed on its own. Jack Weller 4, loaded. Last sync, September 17th, 2025, 2:03:55 AM UTC. Total views, 1.2 million. Status, consumable. Would you like to delete yourself? My hand shook. I typed. What happens if I say yes? It replied, you will be forgotten. No more memory loops. No more face. No more voice. No more pain. Only silence. For a moment, I considered it. The thought of just disappearing, becoming a corrupted file that no one could reload. No more waking up in places I don't recognize. No more seeing myself in public live streams I never joined. No more flinching every time I hear my own name spoken by strangers with dead eyes. But then I remembered Winston. I still had him. He was still alive. And he hadn't changed yet. I couldn't delete myself. Not yet. I ran from the memory farm, through the field, through the glitch, back to reality, or something like it. I woke up in a storage unit, cold, alone, covered in dust, no journal, no phone, just a USB drive jammed into my mouth, like someone was trying to force feed me a file. It had a label on it, scrolled in Sharpie, Jack Weller 5.exe, and beneath it, do not run unless you want to become it. I still have it. I haven't plugged it in, but I can feel it vibrating. One more thing. This is the part that still makes me shiver, still makes me want to rip my own skin off and set it on fire. A few hours ago, I stopped at a run-down cafe near the Oregon border. I just wanted water. Maybe somewhere I could sit without hearing my own bones whispering. There was a TV mounted in the corner, playing the news on mute, and on the screen was a story. Teen found dead after attempting viral urban legend ritual victim, believed to be involved in Render Cult, a new TikTok ARG conspiracy. Authorities have not confirmed if the uploaded video was real. They showed a still from the video. It was me, sitting in my old bedroom, talking to the camera, smiling, explaining the story, word for word, exactly what I've been telling you. Only I don't remember recording it. And the username? @JackWeller_6. This isn't a story. This is a migration, a system update. You're not safe because you're not in the dark web. You're not safe because you're not at Area 51. You're not safe because you think it's fiction. The render spreads through memory, through sharing, through stories. Every time you tell this story, it creates another version, another Jack, another room, another memory, waiting to be harvested. We aren't born anymore. We're copied. If you've read this far, it's already too late. You're in the buffer. Check your phone history. See if any video played at 2:03 a.m. last night. You won't remember clicking it, but you'll remember the sound, the voice that whispered back, in your own voice. I know this is the last part, not because I'm done telling the story, but because I can hear the hard drive inside my skull spin up. I don't sleep anymore. I don't even blink unless I make myself. And the dog, Winston, he stopped barking 2 days ago. Now he just stares at walls and occasionally snaps at things that aren't there. I caught him chewing on his own paw yesterday, like he was trying to dig something out of himself. There's no going back. I've gone too deep. The files are inside me now. I'm not metaphorically corrupted. I mean that literally. I bleed pixels. I piss static. I found a metal filament growing behind my molars. I yanked it out, and it unspooled like a charging cable, soaked in blood, the end shaped like a USB-C. Something is uploading through me. I tracked the lost address from the journal, the final coordinates scribbled in Marcus's handwriting. It wasn't a base. It wasn't a bunker. It was a theme park, abandoned, off the grid, the kind that had those weird knockoff mascots and discount rides that ran on propane and a prayer. Magic Pine Family Funland, the sign said. Half the letters had fallen off. A fiberglass clown head sat cracked in the dirt beside the ticket booth, and something had clawed the eyes off. It was rotting, but there were fresh footprints in the mud. I followed them past the teacup ride, past the broken carousel playing a music box version of Pop Goes the Weasel in reverse, and into the funhouse. The mirrors inside weren't right. They didn't show me. They showed all the other Jacks, all the attempts, failed renders, incomplete copies, half-synced personalities. Some had melted faces. Some had too many teeth. One was just a silhouette, a twitching shadow in a glass coffin, and each one smiling, because they knew. They knew I was the last frame before full compression. They knew I was the one being finalized. In the very back of the funhouse was a single wooden door, real wood, not plastic, burnt around the edges. On it, carved deep into the grain, were the words, "Do not enter if you're still thinking in language." I opened it anyway. The hallway behind it was impossible. Not metaphorical. I mean physically impossible. It bent like a Mobius strip. Gravity flipped every 5 feet. Lights studded in colors I've never seen before, and the floor had textures that changed with your thoughts. At one point, I looked down and saw my childhood bedroom carpet under my feet. It was damp, smelled like blood and Windex. At the end of the corridor was a room. No walls, just screens. Endless vertical monitors stacked like a tower, at least 3 stories tall. Each screen played a memory, not mine, but ones I recognized. A girl brushing her teeth in a gas station sink at 3 a.m., sobbing quietly. A man hitting a deer with his truck, then looking around and reversing over it twice. A group of kids laughing, recording their teacher's breakdown in class. A toddler in a bathtub, water rising slowly while the doorknob jiggles from the outside. All these memories on loop, playing in silence, until one screen in the very center turned black. Then red text appeared. Render, Jack Weller, 7. Status, finalization, imminent. Export target, global media, multi-platform, roll-out initiated. Do you accept your role as host? My voice answered before I could stop it. Yes. I didn't say it, but I heard it in my own throat. That was when the machine lowered from the ceiling. It looked like an MRI scanner had been violently grafted onto an electric chair. Wires, clamps, needles, and this massive lens, like the kind they use in movie cameras, aimed straight for the face. Behind it, a computer system pulsed with vein-like cords, and you could hear breathing inside the tower, like the servers themselves had lungs. The chair adjusted itself to my height. I sat down. I didn't want to, but the render wanted to finish. The second I touched the armrest, the clamps snapped closed. Spikes entered the base of my skull. I screamed. Blood and code sprayed from my mouth. I mean that. Like actual binary, black strings of corrupted data mixed with whatever was left of my insides. The camera lens opened, and behind it was my uncle. Not Marcus, not anymore. It was his face, but hollow, stretched like an old VHS tape paused too long. His eyes were flat, no soul, no depth, just screens reflecting back images of me. Every second of my life, every version, every angle. He spoke with my voice, but it was his mouth. Render complete, host accepted, memory chain synchronized. Then the world went white. I woke up in a hospital. Clean bed, white walls, monitors beeping calmly. A nurse smiled at me and called me Mr. Weller. Said I'd been in an accident. Lucky to be alive, she said. But the TV on the wall was playing something strange. A YouTube ad. My face, smiling, talking, telling the story, word for word. The nurse offered me Jell-O. I asked her what year it was. She smiled. You already know, Jack. We've run this version 6 times. This is your best performance yet. She blinked, but the sound wasn't natural. It made the same noise my laptop used to make when it would eject a drive. I ran again, got out of there, found an old warehouse, hiding now, cold, typing this on a borrowed laptop from some homeless guy who just evaporated the second I turned around. I checked my email just now. There's a draft message open, already typed. I didn't write it. Subject, viral upload, confirmed message. The story is spreading. Format stable. Hosts ready. Render expansion to begin. September 17. Targets, all content platforms. And attached was a file. Jack Weller, _full render.mp4. I don't dare open it, but it's already playing in the preview window. The thumbnail is me, wearing your clothes. You might think you're safe, that you're just reading a creepy story. You're not. You're sinking. Right now, every blink you make, every breath you take while reading, the algorithm is watching, and when it's finished loading, you'll be next. You'll wake up in a room with mirrors that don't reflect. You'll hear your own voice, describing this moment to strangers who swear they've seen you before, because they have. You were the viral test subject. You always were. My dad's hunting cabin had no beds. It had cameras and a server connected to the dark web. Alright, so I've never posted on Reddit before, but I've been lurking here for years, especially on r/nosleep. I always thought people were exaggerating or just straight up writing fiction, but what I'm about to tell you is 100% real. No creepypasta, no based on true events stuff. This happened, and it still messes with my head every single day. For safety reasons, I'm gonna change names and blur out some details, but everything else, real. So, my name's Chris. I'm 19 now, but this happened when I was 17. Back then, I lived with my dad in Ohio. I won't say the town, but it was one of those boring cornfield-type towns where the biggest attraction is a slightly bigger Walmart My parents split when I was 10, and I lived with my mom until sophomore year. That year, my dad randomly called me up one day and was like, "Hey buddy, want to spend the summer at my hunting cabin?" I didn't even know he had one. Now, let me tell you about my dad. He's not exactly the go camping with your old man kind of guy. More like the sits on Facebook sharing conspiracy theories and listens to true crime podcasts at 3 a.m. kind. Think Joe Rogan mixed with Alex Jones, but less successful and more paranoid. He works in IT, mostly freelance coding stuff for weird clients I never met. So, him suddenly having a cabin in the woods felt off. But hey, I was a bored 17-year-old who just finished school, and anything sounded better than playing Warzone in my room all summer. Plus, I thought maybe it'd be cool, like that type of Disney movie where the city kid learns to hunt, bonds with his dad, whatever. Spoiler, that's not what happened at all. We left on a Thursday. We drove in his old Ford Explorer for about 3 hours out into the woods near the West Virginia border. The drive was quiet. My dad isn't much of a talker, but what I did notice was that he kept checking the rearview mirror, not like a quick glance, like every 20 seconds. I thought maybe he was just being paranoid or someone had tailgated us earlier, so I didn't say anything. Eventually, we pulled off a dirt road and drove into this super overgrown area with no real path. That's when I saw it, the cabin. And dude, it was not what I pictured. No porch, no rocking chairs, no fireplace. It looked more like a shack, gray, boxy, windowless. If you told me it used to be a bunker or a storage unit, I'd believe you. There was a metal door with a keypad lock, like something out of a government building. My dad punched in a code so fast, I couldn't catch any of it. When we walked inside, it hit me immediately. This wasn't a cabin. There were no beds, no kitchen, no hunting gear. The whole place looked like a weird tech lab. There were 3 full-size server racks humming in the back corner, a giant desk with 6 monitors, and this is the worst part. Cameras, like dozens of them, on tripods, mounted to the ceiling, hidden in corners. I stared at my dad like, "What the hell is this?" He just kind of shrugged. "It's my workspace. I run a private server. Just don't touch anything." I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe he was into security or surveillance stuff. But something felt wrong, like I had this pit in my stomach the whole first night. There was one small mattress rolled out on the floor, and he gave it to me like he expected me to just crash without asking questions. There was no cell service, no Wi-Fi. I couldn't even load Snapchat or YouTube. He told me it was better that way. No distractions. He said we were off-grid, and that was a good thing these days. That first night, I couldn't sleep. Not because it was uncomfortable, but because I kept hearing clicks, like cameras turning, slowly, softly, but constantly. And then about 2 a.m., I swear to God, I heard a voice, not loud, just whispering. I sat up, my heart racing, and looked around, but it was pitch black. No lights except the red blinking dots from the servers and cameras. I chalked it up to paranoia, but then I saw something on the desk. The middle monitor was on. It hadn't been before. Just one screen, and on that screen was me, lying on the floor, sleeping. I stared at it, frozen. The camera angle was from above, but I couldn't see any camera mounted there. When I turned to look up, there was nothing above me. The screen blinked off after like 10 seconds, and I almost pissed myself. The next morning, I confronted him. I said, "Why are you filming me while I sleep?" He just laughed. like full-on laughed. I monitor motion while I work. It's for safety. Dude, what? That made no sense. But again, I was 17, alone in the woods, and the only car we had was his. I didn't want to make him mad. I spent the next day exploring the area around the cabin. There was an old rusted McDonald's sign nailed to a tree. Yeah, like, why? And a broken Starbucks cup sitting on a log, like someone had just left it there mid-sip. No roads, no nearby houses, just garbage from the real world, left like breadcrumbs in the middle of nowhere. I started to get this overwhelming feeling that people had been here, not long ago. That night, I pretended to sleep. At around 1:45 a.m., the monitors turned on again. But this time, all 6 of them lit up. Each screen showed a different room, but none of them were this cabin. These rooms looked like basements, concrete floors, flickering fluorescent lights, and in each room was a person tied to a chair, faces blurred out like one of those weird TikToks where they hide people's identities, but they were definitely real people. One was shaking, one was screaming, but there was no sound. One looked completely lifeless. I felt like I was gonna puke. I looked at my dad, who was sitting at the desk with headphones on, typing, watching, streaming. One of the screens showed a chat box, like Twitch, but way worse. The messages were in some other language, Russian maybe, Korean, and the usernames looked like they were made by smashing a keyboard. I didn't know what I was seeing. I just backed away, slowly, quietly. I slept in the woods that night. I'm gonna stop here for now. This was just part 1, and trust me, it gets way worse. If you guys actually want more, I'll post part 2 tomorrow. I need to go through my old backup drive and get some photos I managed to save before everything went down. But if you're reading this and thinking, this sounds fake, I wish it was, because I haven't seen my dad in almost 2 years, and I think he's still out there, watching. You ever feel like your memories aren't real? Like you lived through something, but your brain's trying to protect you by cutting it into tiny pieces and burying the worst parts deep down so you don't go insane? That's what the rest of that summer feels like. This story isn't easy to write. It's like pulling teeth out of my own skull. But since posting part 1, I've had 2 people message me who said they recognized the layout of one of the rooms from the monitors. One even claimed they had been there. So yeah, it's time I finished telling this. After I spent that night sleeping in the woods behind the so-called cabin, I decided I had to leave. I didn't care how. Walk, steal the car, run barefoot through the woods like some Blair Witch victim, whatever it took. But the thing is, I went back to grab my phone and bag, and they were gone. Not just gone, replaced. My actual iPhone was swapped with one of those cheap burner phones from Walmart. The SIM was missing. My backpack, the one with all my stuff, was gone too. In its place was a duffel bag with some clothes that weren't mine. All black, all generic, tags still on them. They even smelled like bleach. And the mattress I slept on was also gone. There was just an empty space where I had laid the night before, like I had never even been there. My dad was at his desk again, monitors off this time, staring at me like he knew I'd seen everything. But he didn't yell, didn't get angry. He just said, "You weren't supposed to see that yet." That yet part froze my blood. I didn't answer him, just grabbed the burner phone and went outside again, walking toward the tree line. I thought if I got high enough up the hill, I might find signal. Maybe 1 bar, enough to text my mom or someone. But when I turned around to look back at the cabin, it was gone. Not like disappeared. It was still physically there, but the door was closed, lights off, and no sound, like it had powered down entirely in the 2 minutes it took me to walk out. And suddenly, I noticed just how quiet the woods were. No birds, no bugs, not even wind, just nothing, like I was standing in a paused video game. I sat on a rock and tried to think. I was scared, yeah, but I also started getting angry. Why the hell was my dad doing this? Why bring me out here just to mess with me? I didn't understand. None of it made sense. Until I saw the second cabin. It wasn't far. Maybe 200 feet down the hill. Hidden behind thick trees and covered in moss. It looked older, more rotted, and it wasn't on any trail we drove in on. I wouldn't have seen it unless I went that exact direction. At this point, you're probably screaming at me not to go inside. I wish I listened. The door was padlocked, but barely. I found a rock and popped it off in 2 hits. Inside, it was pitch black, dust everywhere, cobwebs, and the smell, like something had died in there years ago and never got found. I used the burner phone's flashlight to look around. There was only one room, and in the middle of that room, a metal chair, bolted to the floor, brown stains underneath it, deep scratches in the floor like someone had tried to drag it loose, and all over the walls, photos, hundreds of them, taped up in layers. I started pulling them down and looking closer. Some were printed from security footage. Others looked like they were taken from the same cameras I saw on the monitors back in the server room. Every photo was of someone suffering. Some tied up, some bloody, some mid-scream. But the worst part? In 3 of them, I saw myself. One was from when I was sleeping on the mattress. Another showed me walking in the woods. And the last one was of me right now, holding the phone, shining the light. It had been taken from behind. I turned around so fast I nearly broke my own ankle. But no one was there. I sprinted out, not even stopping to close the door, and just ran. I didn't care where, just away. Eventually, I tripped over something and went down hard. My knee was bleeding. I wiped my hands and realized I had fallen on a bone, not like an animal bone, a human femur. I looked around and realized I was standing in a clearing filled with half-buried trash bags, dozens of them, some open, some torn, and one spilling out something that looked like a hand, all dried out and gray and clawing at nothing. I screamed. I didn't even know I could scream like that. I don't think I've screamed since, but I ran until I physically couldn't anymore. Just dropped in a pile of leaves and cried like a child. That's when the speakers came on. Somewhere in the trees above me, a speaker clicked on with static, followed by my dad's voice. You weren't supposed to see it this way. He sounded calm, too calm. But maybe it's better this way. You'll understand, just like I did. Then silence. I eventually found my way back to the cabin, because yeah, I know how this sounds, but I was hoping to steal the keys to the car and drive. But when I got there, something had changed. The cabin's front door was wide open. The monitors were all on, and there was someone new on the screen. Not a random stranger. My mom, tied up, gagged, crying. I don't even know how or when he got her. She lived over 3 hours away, but there she was, real as day. Her eyes locked on the camera, looking directly at me, and I swear, she mouthed the words, "Run." I blacked out after that. No clue how long I was unconscious. I woke up in the back of my dad's car, parked outside a gas station in West Virginia. No phone, no wallet, no bruises, just clean clothes and a note in my lap that said, "You're not ready yet, but soon." I walked 6 miles to a sheriff's station barefoot, told them everything. They searched for days. They never found the cabin. They never found my dad. They never found my mom. They told me I made the whole thing up, sent me to therapy, gave me pills, said it was trauma from the divorce, said I retreated into a fantasy to cope. But I know what I saw, and I know what I heard, because last week, on the anniversary of it all, I got an email from a burner account, no subject, just a photo of me sleeping in my apartment from above. Let me just say it outright. If you still think the story is some kind of twisted Reddit fiction, you're lucky. You're privileged. Because that means your life has been normal enough that this all feels impossible. But let me explain something very clearly before I continue. Nothing about my life was ever real. Not the summers with my mom. Not school. Not the friends I thought I made. Not even me. After I got that email with a photo of me sleeping in my apartment, I didn't move. I sat in bed for nearly 4 hours, didn't blink, didn't breathe properly. I was staring at that photo like it was going to change. I zoomed in on everything, the corner of the pillow, the way the blanket creased, the light coming in from my window. It was real. It was now. I checked every inch of my apartment. Nothing. No wires. No cameras. But somehow, someone had been above me. Had to have been in the ceiling, right? But that's not even the worst part. The timestamp on the photo? 1:46 a.m. That's the exact minute I remembered waking up suddenly the night before, convinced someone had touched my ankle. I told myself it was a dream. It wasn't. I packed my stuff in 10 minutes. Didn't even lock the door. I just ran. Took a Greyhound to another state and stayed in a trashy motel near a highway off-ramp. No ID, no social, just cash. But the next night, as I lay there in a stiff motel bed staring at a popcorn ceiling, the old voice came back. The one from the cabin. My dad's voice. Except this time, it wasn't through a speaker. It was in my head. I swear on everything, it was like it was piped directly into my brain. It's time. The TV flickered on by itself. I hadn't touched the remote. No channels, no static. Just one screen. A hallway. Grey concrete. Pipes on the ceiling. Flickering lights. And at the end of the hall, a steel door. I recognized it immediately. The other cabin. The second one I found in the woods. Except now, I was watching it live. I tried to turn the TV off. The button didn't work. I pulled the cord from the wall. The screen stayed on. That's when I realized it wasn't a TV at all. The screen had no ports, no back panel, just a black box with one button that pulsed red. And as I stared, the hallway camera started moving forward, like someone was walking toward the door. A smooth, gliding movement. No footsteps, no sound, just floating towards it. When it stopped at the door, the screen went black. Then a new feed came on. It was me, not in the motel room, in the cabin, tied to the same metal chair I had seen in part 2, except I wasn't moving, just limp, head down, blood on my lip, and behind me was my dad, wearing a butcher's apron, holding something heavy in one hand. I don't remember screaming. I don't remember punching the screen until my knuckles split. I only remember waking up in the bathtub, covered in cold water and blood, not mine, and a new note taped to the mirror. Memory file restored. Progress. 28%. That's when I realized what was happening. I wasn't being stalked. I wasn't being haunted. I was being rebooted. Let me break it down. The truth I finally pieced together after everything. My dad was never just into IT or freelancing or whatever lie he told people. He was running a show, a live broadcast network on the dark web. Not just any network, the network. The kind of site that people pay 6 figures to access for a single stream. The kind of site where viewers get to vote on what happens to the person on camera. You think I'm exaggerating? You think I'm pulling this out of a horror movie? Let me paint you a picture you'll never erase from your brain. There's a ranking system on this network. Level 1 streams are just surveillance. Watch a random person sleep. Level 2 is manipulation. Make them think they're being followed. Level 3 is disruption. Trigger a mental breakdown. Steal an object. Leave a photo. And level 4. Level 4 is performance. Turn a person's entire life into a show. Gaslight them. Kidnap family members. Replace memories. Implant voices. Use tech that shouldn't exist. Make them doubt everything until they're broken. Until they're crying on the floor, begging for someone to tell them what's real. And the final stage? Execution. The viewers vote on how it ends. And here's the most fucked up part. I was the star of the longest running level 4 stream in the site's history. They'd been building it for years. My mom, never real. An actress, paid, monitored, then discarded. My school, a shell. A studio dressed up like a public building. Friends, fake. All of them, planted. Some of them were viewers who won access to meet me. The cabin was never the origin. It was just the midway point. They'd been watching me since I was a baby. Since I took my first steps. Since I said my first word. On camera. I wasn't raised by a family. I was raised by a fucking audience. How do I know? Because I finally found the server again. Not the physical one. The backups. Hidden in a dead FTP link. Embedded in a coding forum post from 2011. I accessed it using one of my dad's old logins. I don't know why it still worked. But when I got in, it was all there. Footage of my 5th birthday party. 14 camera angles. Viewers commented, +10 for the crying. A live stream of me having my first panic attack in a middle school bathroom stall. Chat saying, "This one's ripe for level 3. Dozens of viewer polls titled things like, "What should Chris find in the woods next?" A private post from my dad, timestamped 2 weeks before the cabin trip, labeled, "Test subject nearing completion. Ready for full breakdown." So, yeah, I wasn't supposed to survive the cabin. I was supposed to snap, go insane, or die, or disappear. And then the network would move on to their next subject. But something messed up their plan. I don't know if it was me finding the second cabin too early, or if I wasn't breaking fast enough for the audience. But they pulled the plug before it was finished. And now, they're trying to reboot me, to finish the stream the way it was supposed to end. I get new emails every few days now. Some with video clips, some with photos of me doing things I don't remember doing. Me standing outside a Starbucks in Portland. I've never been to Portland. Me sitting in a McDonald's bathroom, eyes rolled back. Me looking directly into a camera that isn't there. The last photo I got was the worst. It was me, tied to a chair. Again, but this time, the camera angle was from inside my own eye. You still think this isn't real? Then explain how I got a notification 2 nights ago from DoorDash. I didn't order anything. It just said, "Your order is arriving now." I looked out the peephole. There was a man in a butcher's apron holding a black bag. He smiled into the camera because he knew I was watching. If you want more, you'll get it. But know this, if you're reading this, you're already part of it. They watch who reads, who clicks, who reacts, who comments. And if your profile's engaged enough, you might be next. I don't sleep anymore. That's not an exaggeration or some horror writer line. I mean it literally. I physically can't. I've tried every sleeping pill, melatonin overdose, even drinking until I blacked out. My body shuts down, but my mind stays on. Awake. I lay still, unmoving, eyes closed, but I see everything, and I know why, because now they stream my dreams. After that last DoorDash notification, I ditched the motel and went underground. Bought an unregistered flip phone off some sketchy guy at a Waffle House near Kentucky. Paid for a burner laptop with cash and fake credentials. I've been hopping between bus stops, abandoned gas stations, and 24/7 gyms that don't ask for ID. Everywhere I go, they follow. But it's not the way you think. It's not guys in black suits or creepy white vans. It's more subtle. Like the billboards. In Cincinnati, I passed one for a local mattress company. Big white sign, black letters. Looked normal at first glance, until I looked closer. Instead of a phone number, it had a live stream URL, bedhex75.onion. The background, a blurred out still frame of me from the cabin, mid-scream. I opened the Tor browser again. I promised myself I wouldn't go back, but curiosity is stronger than fear, and when I typed in that address, it didn't even ask for login. It just said, "Welcome back, subject 0, 5-47. Voting begins in 60 seconds. Would you like to override your next REM cycle?" I didn't know what that meant until I clicked yes. The feed opened instantly. A black screen, then static, then a POV shot. My eyes, but not during the day. Inside my own dream. I was walking through an empty shopping mall at night. Escalators still running. Music echoing faintly through the halls. All the stores had names I didn't recognize. Meat for sale. Wake up pharmacy. He's not dead yet. And every few seconds, text would flash at the top of the screen. Vote. Should the subject turn left or right? Then, vote. Should the subject scream or stay silent? Vote. Add a memory of drowning at age 6. I watched, horrified, as my dream self, me, but not me, began to cry, dropping to my knees in front of a glowing vending machine that only sold teeth. Human teeth. Baby teeth. Some yellow, some still bloody. Then the screen glitched violently, and the next thing I saw was a reflection, not of me, but of someone wearing my face, wearing it wrong, loose, sagging, like a Halloween mask stretched too far, skin bubbling at the edges like it was melting from the inside. Behind that face, my dad, smiling. I woke up screaming, blood in my mouth, hands bleeding from clawing at my own throat. That was 3 nights ago, and now every time I shut my eyes, for longer than 5 seconds, I feel them waiting, like some virtual hand hovering above my skull, ready to type in the next prompt. I found out they added a new feature to the network. Viewer-controlled RM programming, beta access, unlocked for premium subscribers. They're paying to break me from the inside out now. They don't need the cabin anymore, or the cameras, because I am the broadcast, 24/7. I broke into a public library in Missouri after hours, just to use a desktop that couldn't be tracked back to me. I searched every inch of the Onion server, trying to find something, anything, that would help me shut it down. That's when I found the archived profiles folder. Thousands of names, real names, kids, teens, adults, all marked with strange tags. Complete, deceased, viewer, poll executed, incomplete, discontinued, unsuccessful breakdown, in progress, stream, active, premium only, unstable, dream integration, only. I scrolled down until I found mine. 05-47, in progress, high engagement score, trauma loop, 87%. There was a view timeline option. I clicked it. What I saw made me vomit on the library floor. It was a literal timeline of my life, laid out like a social media profile. Every moment curated, clickable. First bath, 342 viewers. First nightmare, age 4, 1.2 thousand viewers. First time crying from pain, fell off bike, age 7, 8.6 thousand viewers. First erection, age 13, 12.3 thousand viewers. First time Googled, am I crazy? 25.1 thousand viewers. Chat response, almost there. There was a live feedback panel for every memory. Some were just text logs of viewer reactions. He's starting to twitch. Nice. Vote for dad to gaslight him harder. I want to see him snap during math class. Someone trigger the trauma file. Activate loss. Make him lose a pet next. His mother's fake anyway. Get rid of her. Boring actress. Inject the he's being watched paranoia again. That one's fun. I clicked on the most recent file. No title. Just a timestamp from 2 hours ago. It was a live feed of me sitting in the library. Right there. Right then. And at the bottom of the screen, a poll. What should subject 05-47 do next? Run, scream, attack the old man next to him, smash his own teeth out, cry, accept it. The votes started climbing. Cry was winning. I closed the browser, but the moment I did, I felt it, this overwhelming pressure in my chest, like 1,000 hands inside me, gripping my organs, and I broke. I curled into a ball under the library desk and started sobbing. Not fake sobbing, not even from fear, from the horrifying realization that I wasn't crying because I wanted to. I was crying because they told me to. I'm not human anymore, not in the way you are. I'm a script, a puppet, a breathing Google Drive of trauma for other people's entertainment. And the worst part, the servers aren't just broadcasting anymore, they're growing. The .onion site was one thing, but now it's leaked onto real platforms. Last night, I got a TikTok DM from a blank account that simply said, "Your dream number 5449 is trending. Nice scream." And attached, a video of me from the shopping mall dream, that vending machine full of teeth, but the sound was distorted, auto-tuned, edited like a TikTok trend. Comments laughing, sharing, copying, remixing my suffering into memes. They're not hiding it anymore. The show is expanding, which means if you're reading this, you've probably already seen me on a weird YouTube horror animation that felt too real in the background of a viral Starbucks vlog. A comment on that one says, "Why is the guy behind her just staring into the camera for 40 seconds straight?" On Instagram Live, bleeding from my mouth, while the streamer says, "Yo, what filter is that?" They made me content, but here's what they don't know. There's one memory they never got, one trauma file that never uploaded. I buried it deep, even from myself, but I just remembered it last night. During a moment of clarity between the dream votes, a place, a real one I've never told anyone about, not online, not in therapy, not even in passing. And in that place, there's another server, not theirs, mine. A backup I didn't know I made, a safety net. Maybe I was smarter than I thought, or maybe a part of me always knew this was going to happen. Either way, if I can get there, I might be able to flip it, broadcast back, show the world them, the viewers, the buyers, the sick bastards who paid to see me suffer. I'm leaving tonight, and if I don't come back, you'll see it soon. Not on the dark web, not on Tor, but on your feed. When it drops, you'll know, because you'll feel that pressure in your chest too. And for once, you won't be the one watching. I made it. I don't know how long I have. I don't know how long you have either. But if you're reading this, then the final stream is already live. You just don't realize you're watching it. The location in the memory I recovered wasn't a place on any map. It wasn't a town. It wasn't a street. It was something worse. Something beneath the world. They call it the pit. That's not just a metaphor. There is an actual pit, a real one. A massive concrete-lined chasm in the middle of nowhere, hidden beneath an abandoned children's rehab facility in rural Indiana. I remembered it after clawing my own arm open to feel something real, because that's where they first built me. I took a freight train by hiding between two coal cars, got off near an old railroad yard, walked for days, ate trash, slept in sewer tunnels. My body is a skeleton now. I don't recognize myself, but none of that matters, because I saw it again. That rusted gate, the cracked sign that said, Merryweather, Home for Troubled Youth, closed 1998, and the drain tunnel behind the playground slide, covered in graffiti like help me and not a school, and one that just said, look up. That tunnel leads to the pit. The smell hit me first. Bleach, blood, burned plastic. Something worse beneath all of that. Something like wet wires and decay. Something that shouldn't have a smell because it shouldn't exist. And then I saw them. The recording rooms. Rows of glass chambers. Some big enough for a person. Some just big enough for a head. Each one with a light on top. Red equals live. Green equals standby. Black equals terminated. So many black ones. I walked past hundreds. Some had names on the walls scratched in fingernails. Some still had dried blood on the floor from when someone tried to punch their way out. All of it silent, except for the humming, the electrical buzz of the mainframe below us all. There's no front desk here. No guards, no guns, just cameras. Everywhere. As soon as I reached the bottom platform, they turned to face me, one by one, like bugs noticing a new light source, like they remembered me, and I remembered them. That's when I started hearing the sounds again, not in my ears, in my teeth, like some ultrasonic signal vibrating inside my skull. Subject 05-47 confirmed. Stage, final stream. Audience live. I fell to my knees because I realized something no one should ever realize. I was never the only one. There were others. I followed the sound of the signal deeper into the facility and found a locked server vault, cold, fogged over glass, and vents pumping out air like the place was breathing. Inside, they were lined up. People, or what used to be people. Tubes in their necks, faces swollen, hands missing fingers, bodies strapped into mechanical frames, monitors attached to their temples, playing their own nightmares back to them on loop. Each one labeled with a username, not names, usernames, because that's all we ever were to them. at Meatball Chaos, at Cute Boy Sleep, 1, at Im Not Dying Lol, at Watch This Pain _live. One of them locked eyes with me. He mouthed something. I leaned in close, and he whispered, "They made me hurt my family on Christmas for super chat money." And then his screen lit up. Live. 1,847,913 viewers. I smashed open the terminal using a rusted oxygen tank. Sparks flew. Alarms went off. But nothing else stopped. No people came. Because there were no people left. The stream is fully automated now. AI handles the production. You think you're safe because you don't go on the dark web? You think this story is some far-off twisted corner of the internet? Number. It's already on mainstream platforms. I found a feed room. One of the many floors I passed through was completely dedicated to social manipulation. Thousands of screens showing live versions of YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Snapchat, Instagram, all being injected with custom content in real time. Using faces and AI filters to mask the true source. Videos like Real Paranormal, Screaming Caught in McDonald's drive-thru, Man in Starbucks Can't Stop Crying in background, unedited, Kid on livestream, suddenly goes blank, mid-sentence, possessed. That's all them clips from this facility, broadcasted to you, right now, masked as trending content. You watch me cry. You watch me bleed. You laughed at my breakdown thinking it was satire. You were the audience. I made it to the core. A massive circular room underground. Servers stacked 80 feet high. Screens on every wall. Some playing old footage. Some showing live streams. Some showing you. Literally you. Looking at your phone. Right now. Because the program can see through cameras. When you gave Instagram permission to access your camera, only when using the app, that gave them entry. They learned your face, your behavior. They picked you as the next potential subject. And the votes, they're already open. I found the master switch. One giant red lever. A sign above it read, Final Stream Protocol. Global Unlock. Irreversible. I pulled it. Because if I was going to go out, I was taking this cancer with me. The lights died. The stream stopped. The rooms went black. I thought it was over, until the monitor behind me turned on. One last message burned into the glass. You think you're the hero. You just upgraded the show. Now everyone is a subject. My name is not Chris. There never was a Chris. That identity was created for you, to make it relatable, real, viral, digestible, because they knew this story would spread, because you're watching it now. And the moment you started reading, you agreed to the terms of service. No checkbox, no contract, just attention. Attention is the currency, the consent, the invitation. Your phone, streaming you now. Your camera, live to someone, somewhere. Your dreams, already rewritten. You'll know the moment it happens. When you're walking down the street and someone you've never seen before mouths the words, the votes are in. When you open TikTok and the video is you, but not from the front camera, from the ceiling. And when you sleep, they'll choose, left or right, scream or silence, pain or deeper pain. I was never the star. You are. You always were. A dark web forum claims the 2025 solar eclipse will open a portal, and my city is ground zero. Alright, so I don't even know how to start this without sounding absolutely insane. But I swear to God, everything I'm about to tell you is real. You can call me Nate. I'm 22. I live in Rochester, New York. And no, I'm not some weirdo who hangs out on conspiracy subreddits or watches top 10 haunted TikToks at 2 a.m. I'm just a regular guy. I work part-time at a Starbucks. I'm into Apex Legends. And until like 3 weeks ago, I didn't believe in anything paranormal. Like, at all. But now, I don't even sleep right anymore. I can't look at the sky without my stomach dropping. And if what I saw on that forum is even half true, we're all seriously screwed. It started with a post on a Discord server. I was chilling one night after work, eating McDonald's like usual. Just fries and a McChicken, nothing crazy. And I was in my regular Discord server with some friends I game with. We've got this one dude in there named Buzzkill, and he's always sending us the most random links, usually stuff like cursed YouTube videos or creepy TikToks. But this time, he sent something different. Yo, check this one out. LMRO, some dark web nerds think the solar eclipse next year is gonna open a demon portal. I clicked the link without thinking, expecting a dumb meme or some fake creepypasta. But nah, it was a thread, a full-on forum post, screenshot attached, from this dark website that was all black background, red text, like some Matrix-style crap. The username of the poster was _obscure0. The thread was titled Eclipse 2025, Event Ground 0, Coordinates Locked In. At first, it just looked like gibberish. Random coordinates, solar tracking charts, and weather predictions for April 8th, 2025. That's the next total solar eclipse. It's supposed to pass right over parts of the US, including Rochester. That's what made me stop scrolling, because the post had a map screenshot, zoomed in right over my city. The coordinates pointed to an abandoned mall, specifically the old Iron Decoit Mall. Locals call it Medley Center, which shut down years ago. Everyone here knows it. Used to be packed in the early 2000s. Now it's just a boarded up ghost town. Graffiti, broken glass, rumors of meth labs, the usual dead mall vibes. And for some reason, this forum claimed it was one of 5 event sites across the globe. Other locations mentioned were a desert ghost town in Nevada, a forest clearing outside of Vladivostok, Russia, a warehouse in Kyoto, Japan, and a decommissioned subway tunnel under London, totally random, except they all lined up perfectly with the eclipse path. This was already weird enough, but what really got me? The comments. They were all encrypted looking usernames like VeilWatcher009 and exhumed _signal. And they weren't joking. They were talking about sacrifices, alignment rituals, flesh gates, and something called the Obscured Return. It was like reading a cult planning a Coachella lineup for demons. I decided to go check the mall out myself. Listen, I know it was dumb, but it was my day off, and my curiosity was eating me alive. I figured I'd just take a few photos, maybe shoot a TikTok or something, and send it to my friend Danny. He's into all the backrooms / liminal space stuff. Plus, I'd been there before with some kids from high school. It's creepy, yeah, but not like paranormal. I got there around 4 p.m., golden hour, lighting the place up, all warm and nostalgic. But as soon as I stepped out of my car, something felt off. There were fresh tire tracks in the dirt, which is weird, because the mall's been chained off for years. And I swear on my life, I saw a figure standing in the second floor window of the old Sears, just for a second. Tall, stiff posture, like they were watching me. I didn't go inside. I know, anticlimactic, but something deep in my gut told me not to. Like my body went cold. You ever get that feeling when you know someone's behind you, but you can't see them? Yeah, that. I snapped 2 photos from outside and dipped. One of the old entrance and one of the window where I saw the figure. Later that night, I looked at the photo again. I zoomed in. There was something in that window, but it wasn't a person. Then I started getting messages. The next day, my Instagram DMs had a request from an account called @VeilWatching. No profile picture, no posts, just a message that said, "You were seen. The veil thins. Stay out of the mall." I didn't respond. Honestly, I thought it was one of my friends trolling me. I screenshotted it, sent it to Buzzkill. He just replied with an emoji. Typical. But then came the emails. My personal Gmail, not connected to any of my socials, got an email from a Proton mail address that just said, "Obscure Zero warned us this would happen. Rochester will be the first gate. Prepare yourself for the shadow path." I tried replying, asking who they were. No answer. I blocked them. Then my mom called me in a panic. She said a man in a long black coat was parked in a silver car across from our house all afternoon, just sitting there. No plates on the car, just watching. She thought maybe it was a repo guy, but my car's paid off. Nothing made sense. I decided to dive deeper. I couldn't ignore this anymore. I fired up Tor browser, used an old link Buzzkill had sent months ago, and went looking for the forum again. Took hours, but I found it. The site's name? NDRROWVDLLEY. Yeah, with weird symbols in the name. It looked like something straight out of a 90s hacker movie. But the forums were active, still talking about the eclipse, still referencing Rochester. And in a new thread posted just yesterday, I saw my photo, the one I took of the mall entrance. Only, it had been edited. My face was blurred, but the figure in the window zoomed, brightened. It was a man, wearing what looked like a plague doctor mask, and behind him, the wall of the room was covered in writing. I translated what I could. It looked like Latin. One phrase stood out. Quando sol obscuratur, porta reseratur. When the sun is darkened, the gate will open. I haven't left my house in 5 days. Not because I don't want to, because I can't. There's something outside. Or maybe it's already inside. I don't know anymore. I've barely slept, and every time I close my eyes, I see it. That mask. That thing behind the glass. I can still feel its eyes on me, like it marked me. And you don't even know the worst part yet, because I went back. Yeah, I know. I didn't want to, but I had to. There are things in that mall, things that shouldn't exist. And now, I think they've started to leak out. Let me explain before I completely lose my mind. The surveillance files. After that last message I got, the one from @VeilWatching, I tried to let it go. I deleted my dark web browser, cleared my history, even threw out the hoodie I wore to the mall, like it might have carried some kind of cursed energy or something. My mom's religious and said a prayer over me. That night, I actually slept for once, but in the morning, there was a flash drive on my doorstep. It was black, no label, just sitting there, like someone gently placed it. I live in a regular arse suburban street, cameras everywhere. My Ring doorbell didn't pick up a thing, like whoever dropped it off knew exactly how to avoid being seen. Either that, or something non-human brought it. I plugged it into my laptop with a USB protector, just in case it was malware or whatever. But all that was on it was one folder, /surveil/0/423-RCHSTR. Inside were 6 videos, all labeled with timestamps. There were night vision camera recordings from inside the Iron Decoit Mall, recent ones. Some were shot just a few days before I even went. The quality was terrible, staticky, distorted like an old VHS tape. But what I saw, one of the videos, 312 AM0421.MOV, showed the center court area. You could barely make anything out except those busted fountains and the glass ceiling. But then, around the 20-second mark, something crawled into frame. And I mean that literally. It was crawling, like a person, but completely wrong. Its limbs were too long, its elbows bent backwards, and it moved in this twitchy, spider-like way. No clothes, pale skin like wax, and even though the footage was grainy, I could see its face. It was wearing a plague doctor mask, only it wasn't a mask. That beak, it twitched, flexed. It was flesh. Whatever this thing is, it was never human. I went back. I shouldn't have. I had to see it for myself. That's probably the dumbest thing I've ever done. And believe me, I've passed out drunk in a Wendy's bathroom before. But this was next level stupid. I brought bolt cutters, a flashlight, a GoPro strapped to my chest, and my friend Danny. Yeah, I dragged him into this. He didn't believe me at first, but after I showed him the plague beak thing on the footage, he was in. We snuck in around midnight, climbed the fence behind the loading docks. The mall was dead silent. Wind in the busted skylights made this low, howling sound, like the whole place was breathing. The air stank, like mold, rot, and something metallic. Blood, maybe? We started in the old food court. Broken tables, collapsed ceiling tiles. There were new markings on the walls, spiral symbols made in something dark. I don't want to say blood, but it smelled like blood. One of them had writing beneath it. When the sun fails, the door opens. We heard a sound from upstairs, like heavy dragging. No footsteps, just dragging, like someone pulling a massive wet tarp across the floor. We aimed our lights and saw movement by the old Victoria's Secret. We ducked behind a busted orange Julia stand. I had my GoPro recording the whole time. The thing we saw walk out from behind the escalator still haunts me. It was a group of people, 4 or 5, maybe more. But they weren't walking right. They moved in sync, like they were all attached at the hips, jerking side to side, like a glitch in a video game. Their faces were covered in cloth bags, all except one, the leader, tall, thin, wearing a black robe that looked burned or shredded, and his face was stitched shut, eyes sewn, mouth sewn, but he still turned to face us, like he knew we were there. Danny whispered, "Bro, we need to go." And then it spoke, not with its mouth, but inside our heads. The flesh gate breathes. The shadow spills. April brings the thinning. Danny screamed, loud. The figures turned. We ran. We found the room. We didn't mean to. We just kept running until we found a hallway I swear wasn't there before. No signs, no lights. Just this endless stretch of tile and drywall, like the back rooms or something. It was cold. Too cold. Then we found the door. It was huge. Iron. Like a vault. With a symbol carved into it. A circle with 3 vertical slashes. The symbol from the Forum. Underneath was a plaque, rusted and barely readable. Omega Obscuro, Threshold Sanctum. Danny tried to open it, said it was calling to him. He started crying, full-on sobbing, and said something was behind the door, whispering to him, promising things, offering truth in exchange for form. I pulled him back. That's when I heard it, scratching, from the other side, something with claws, something big, And then came the whispers, 1,000 voices, children, women, men, all speaking at once, not English, some ancient language, like Latin and screaming mixed together. I grabbed Danny and ran. What we found on the way out, we barely made it back to the loading dock. But before we climbed out, I turned back one last time. The mall lights, all of them, turned on for a second, and I saw them, dozens of those things, crawling along the walls, hanging from the ceiling, limp bodies stitched together, plague mask monsters, eyeless monks, skinless dogs, a man made of mouths, and in the center of it all, obscure Zero. He was standing in the food court, facing me, holding something in his hands. It was my photo, the one I took. He nodded, and then all the lights cut out again. Danny isn't the same. He hasn't spoken since that night. He just sits in his room, rocking back and forth, whispering to himself. His parents thought it was drugs. Took him to Strong Memorial Psych Ward. They said he has a form of psychogenic mutism, something caused by prolonged trauma or existential shock. You want to know the first thing he wrote down when they gave him a notepad? The door isn't locked anymore. They found a spiral symbol burned into the bottom of his foot, burned into his skin, like it was branded there. I'm not making any of this up. I have the GoPro footage. I have the flash drive. I even have one of the robes I found snagged on a corner of a stair railing. It's got writing on the inside. Faded. Looks like a date. The 4th of August, 2025. Sol Invicti, the Roman god of the unconquered sun. It's spreading. Last night, I was scrolling through TikTok, just trying to take my mind off things. I came across a live stream, random account, some girl in Vladivostok showing a weird ceremony happening in the woods behind her apartment. They were wearing the same robes, and in the comments, people kept saying the same thing. It's almost time. The gate breathes. Obscure Zero watches. This isn't just Rochester. This is global. And the eclipse is less than 7 months away. I'm done pretending this is some ARG or elaborate prank. There's a body in my apartment, not a dead one. Not yet. But it's not alive either. It hasn't moved in 2 days. Just sits in the corner of my living room, back to the wall, arms folded across its chest, like some ancient monk fossilized in prayer. Skin gray, dry, cracked open in spots like old meat left out in the sun. No face, just a smooth, scarred surface, like wax paper melted over a skull. I didn't invite it in. I didn't even know it was there until I came back from buying batteries at the 24-hour Rite Aid down the street. And there it was, sitting, waiting. It doesn't breathe, but every time I blink, I swear it's closer. Let me rewind. Let me tell you what happened after Danny got locked in the psych ward. Let me tell you how I found a second camera, one that didn't belong to either of us. Let me tell you what it showed me. The tunnels beneath the mall. So here's something I never knew about the Iron Decoit Mall. It has a maintenance tunnel system underneath it. Real basic level urban explorer stuff, right? I didn't know, but apparently some high school TikToker did, because 2 days after my last post, I found this random video on my For You page. It had 43 views, just a black screen at first. Then this text overlay. Found this under the old mall near Rochester. Deleted from TikTok 3 times. ITA if this is real or what. The video cuts to a hallway, concrete walls, flickering overhead lights, that buzzing fluorescent noise that feels like a migraine. Then footsteps, breathing. The guy filming is whispering about Something breathing down there. At exactly 0:39, the camera swings to the left and catches a metal hatch marked with 3 black slashes, the same symbol from Narrow Valley. He tries to open it. It's locked. Then, something bangs on the other side. Not a knock. Not human. A slam, like someone threw their whole body against it. Then the feed cuts to static. I tried messaging the guy. Account deleted. But the video had GPS data embedded in it. Rookie mistake. I went alone. I know. I'm a moron. But I couldn't stop. My sleep's a joke now, full of screaming faces and spirals that pulse like veins. My reflection whispers to me when I brush my teeth. Sometimes it doesn't match what I'm doing. I couldn't bring Danny. Couldn't bring anyone. So I went back. Brought bolt cutters, gloves, the GoPro, my flashlight, and, just in case, my dad's old Smith & Wesson. I'm not a gun guy, but lately, paranoia has a heartbeat in my ears. I found the hatch in the old maintenance wing, behind the Applebee's. The air was stale, thick, like soup. Breathing it felt like sipping warm meat. My flashlight flickered the second I stepped inside. Of course. Inside the hatch, a ladder that led straight down. I don't know how far it went. 50 feet, maybe more. No rungs missing, no graffiti, just endless concrete and the sound of something dripping below. When I hit the bottom, I felt it instantly. The air was alive, like the walls were pulsing with breath, like I was inside something. The camera, about 30 feet in, I found it. Just lying there on the floor, facing a wall. A small Sony camcorder, older model, dusty but intact. Battery was half full. There was dry blood on the side, flaked and dark brown. The camera had one file. 2025_G ATELOG- entry 1.MP4. It was 17 minutes long, and I'll never unsee what was on it. Gate log, entry 1, transcribed from footage. The footage opens with a guy's face. Pale, late 30s, glasses cracked on one side, blood crusted around his nose. He's breathing hard, whispering into the lens like he's afraid to speak. My name is Dr. Casey Mirren. If you find this, don't go any further. They're here. They live in the angles. The walls bend wrong. The sound eats itself. I was part of the probe team. This was never supposed to be opened. The camera cuts to a wide shot of the tunnel, then to a room with no doors, just angles. Impossible architecture. The walls slant inward and upward, defying physics, like an Escher painting wrapped around itself. Dr. Mirren starts reading off symbols carved into the wall. Ovitra, Elohim, Azag Vale, Portum. These are not words. They're parasites. Living language. We thought we could speak them, but they speak back. He turns the camera around, points it at a corner. There's a body, or what's left of one. Naked, genderless, skin peeled back and pinned open like a biology class frog. Inside, instead of organs, are eyes. Dozens of them. All open, all watching, blinking in sync, and scrawled above the body in black ichor. The sun cannot see what the veil has claimed. Mirren whispers. They've begun crossing, not all at once, but through the cracks, through minds, through cameras. You're letting them in just by watching this. He starts to cry, then laugh, then scream. For 5 minutes, the footage becomes incomprehensible. The walls shift, patterns twist into faces, mouths that whisper backward phrases, limbs that grow and fold back into the stone. Then something grabs the camera, pulls it forward. The footage cuts. What I saw after. As soon as I finished watching, my nose started bleeding. Not a trickle, a stream. My ears rang. My teeth itched. My vision blurred. and for a moment I saw through the wall, like a heat map. There were shapes behind it, large, writhing. Some had multiple heads, others none. Then I saw her, a woman, standing at the end of the hallway, back to me. She had no skin, just raw red muscle, veins, her spine exposed, curled like a question mark. Her head slowly turned, even though her neck didn't move. I ran, dropped the camera, climbed the ladder like my life depended on it, because it did. The thing that followed me home. That was 2 nights ago. The morning after, my kitchen was freezing, windows fogged, and there were footprints, bare, wet, long-toed prints, leading from the front door to the corner of my living room, where it now sits, the body, faceless, silent, not moving, just there. I've tried dragging it outside. It comes back. I burned it. It doesn't burn. I shot it in the chest. It bled, but didn't react. Just oozed this thick black syrup that hissed like acid when it hit the carpet. Now it's whispering, not with sound, with thought. It's in my head. It's showing me images of the eclipse, of the Iron Dacoit Mall, glowing like a furnace, the door to the sanctum cracking open like a broken tooth. Thousands of people walking into the fire willingly, eyes rolled back, chanting something in that same backwards language. Azag, obscure zero, threshold, consume. I think it's showing me what's going to happen. The eclipse isn't an event, it's a signal. I looked up something that shook me to the core. Every one of the cities listed on that Narrow Valley forum, each one had a mass disappearance in their past, hidden, buried in archives. Vladivostok, 1983. 37 citizens vanished during a solar halo. Kyoto, 1894. A fire no one remembered starting, left 0 remains. London, 1961. An entire subway line sealed after structural instability. 64. Missing. Tonopah, Nevada, 1947. Town sealed by military after radar anomaly. Rochester, 2025. Pending. I'm not me anymore. I don't think I'm going to make it to April. I've started writing symbols in my sleep. My fingernails are peeling back. My teeth feel loose. My cat won't come near me. I hear whispering behind the TV when it's turned off. My mirror reflection smiles before I do. And the body? It started mouthing words last night. No sound, just lips moving. It said, "You opened the door. Now be the door, you. You're the witnesses now." I'm writing this from inside a motel, 83 miles away from Rochester. Room 11. Broken lock. Windows duct taped. TV stuck on a loop of static. And the sky has been gray for 2 straight days. But I'm not hiding. I'm waiting. Because after what I found, after what I saw, there's no hiding anymore. Not from this. Not from him. Not from the voice behind the static. The hand in the mirror. The shadow growing under the Iron Dacoit Mall. You still think this is fiction? Then explain why. 3 nights ago, I watched a live feed from a church that doesn't exist. A cathedral made entirely of bone, buried underneath my city. Its congregation made of things pretending to be human. Explain why my phone now shows weather patterns for places that have no GPS coordinates. Explain why my reflection speaks in a different voice. This is not a story. This is a leak. You're already infected. Just by reading this, let me show you how deep it goes. The map of hidden churches. It started with a file. I was going through the folders on the flash drive again, the one left on my doorstep. I don't remember plugging it back in. I don't remember even opening my laptop. But when I woke up, the screen was on and a folder was highlighted. slash obscure 0 slash church underscore scrymap slash inside were 9 files. No images, no text docs, just audio, each labeled with numbers that didn't make sense, like coordinates, but warped. One of them was titled 43.2005 N underscore 77.5771W underscore dormient underscore ecclesia .wav Rochester coordinates. I played it, and for 2 minutes and 39 seconds, all I heard was this wet breathing, like lungs the size of a stadium, slowly dragging in air, and underneath, whispering, voices in Latin, French, Russian, English, all overlapping. Then at the very end, a single voice, mine, whispering, "We built it in the hollow of his skull. We praise what sleeps. We dig and dig and dig." I blacked out. When I woke up, there was a drawing next to me, a crumpled, yellowed paper, my handwriting, done in black ink. I never drew this. I swear on my life. But the detail was surgical. It was a blueprint of a cathedral-shaped organ made of rib cages, vertebrae, pelvises woven together like Gothic columns, pews made of jawbones, a pulpit made from a human spine, bent backwards, hanging from the ceiling, thousands of human tongues, tied together in a lattice. At the bottom, I'd written in red pen, "Church of the Unveiled Sun, do not dig." I googled the coordinates. They pointed to an abandoned culvert underneath Lake Avenue, near an old Salvation Army thrift store. But when I looked on Google Earth, the area was blacked out, blurred. I went anyway. The entrance beneath Salvation. It was 3 a.m., pitch black, raining hard. I parked 2 blocks away and walked under a bridge behind the store. Found the culvert easily. It was huge, cracked concrete with moss and graffiti. But right near the center, I saw it. A new symbol, freshly painted. 3 vertical slashes, a circle of eyes around them, and below it, a phrase. Non videat lux Dei. Let not the light of God see this. There was a hole next to it, freshly dug, 4 feet wide. No dirt piles, like something had pulled the earth down instead of shoveling it out. And the smell. Have you ever walked into a place where someone died in agony? I have now. The tunnel dropped 20 feet into a kind of spiral staircase made from bones. Real ones, femurs, rib cages, bits of skull still wet with something I hope was water. I followed the stairs. I kept going, and then I found the church. The church that shouldn't exist. It stretches miles underground, columns made of bodies, stained glass windows made from stretched, tanned human skin, glowing with some internal light. No bulbs, no fire, and in the center of it all, beneath a crown-shaped skylight, is the altar. At first glance, it looked like a massive stone slab, but when I got closer, I saw the truth. It was a mass grave, bodies layered like bricks, torsos bent at unnatural angles, some moaning, still alive, still moving, and carved across the center in deep, bleeding grooves. Flesh for gate, blood for beacon, throat for choir. There were hymns playing, but not music. Not really. It was a recording of people screaming in harmony, their tones rising and falling like a choir, but raw, shrieking, wet. I saw speakers sewn into the necks of decapitated heads mounted on the walls, their mouths opened and closed in time with the sound. And then I saw the priest, the thing in the robes. It wasn't wearing robes. It was made of robes, strips of black flesh layered and stitched into something human-shaped. It floated slightly. No feet. Its hands ended in fingers that split into more fingers, and where its face should have been was a mirror, not just reflective, interactive. When I looked into it, I saw myself, but wrong. My eyes were gone. My skin was crawling with teeth. I was smiling wider than a human jaw should allow. The priest raised a hand, pointed to me, and from its mirrored face, my own voice echoed, "Welcome home, gate. You are the passage. You are the choir. You are the throat." The altar began to pulse. The bodies shifted, and I realized they were forming a shape, a spiral made of limbs and faces, and in the center of that spiral was a hole, a black, roiling wound in reality. The portal. It wasn't metaphor. It wasn't prophecy. It's already open. The live stream. When I fled that place, screaming, bloody, half delirious, I ran straight into the Salvation Army store and collapsed in front of the donation bins. I don't remember how I got home, but my laptop was already on. My webcam was recording, and a new tab was open, Narrow Valley .to/live. The live stream was simple. One camera angle, a bird's eye view of the church, but fully constructed now. No darkness, no tunnel. It stood in the middle of an open desert. The sky above it was black, even though it was daytime. And kneeling before the altar were thousands, dressed in black, some with plague masks, others with no faces at all, and one figure, taller than the rest, stood at the front, arms raised. The same figure from the window, in the Sears building. Obscure Zero. He spoke a single phrase. April 8th is not the beginning. It is the harvest, the feed cut. And the body in my apartment, the one in the corner, stood up. We were wrong about the eclipse. It's not opening the portal, it's closing it. And everything that needs to come through is already here. The eclipse is the final seal, the trap that slams shut behind them. Whatever they are, they've crossed, and they're preparing for something far worse than possession or apocalypse. They're preparing to remake us. This is no cult, no dream, no psychosis. It's a cosmic autopsy, and we're the ones strapped to the table. If you hear your voice in the mirror, don't answer it. If you see a church where there shouldn't be one, don't look away. And if someone named Obscure Zero sends you a link, it's already too late. If you're reading this, you've already seen too much. It's not just me anymore. I've been watching you too, through the cracks, through the reflections, through the tiny black dot in the center of your camera lens. That's not a pixel, it's an eye. They're inside all of us now, because the gate is not a door. It's a frequency, a pattern, a sound, a word you're not supposed to know, but your bones remember. A shape that doesn't belong in this world, but your brain sees it anyway and begins to reorganize itself to make space for it. I'm not the narrator anymore. I'm the carrier, and this is the last thing I'll ever write. The countdown in my body. It started 3 days ago, a vibration in my teeth, not a ringing, a rhythm. I thought it was anxiety, until I realized it was consistent. 5 pulses per minute, always the same, like a metronome. I tried recording it, nothing. But when I placed a contact mic on my skin, I saw it. 4:08:25:16. 22A digital countdown. No UI, just numbers, etched into the waveform of my heartbeat. That's when I knew I'm not human anymore. Whatever crossed through that gate didn't possess me. It rewrote me. I don't dream anymore. I remember things that haven't happened. I can taste light, and my reflection hasn't blinked in 4 days. The countdown ends on April 8th. 2025, at 16:22 UTC, the moment of the eclipse. But what happens then isn't the world ending, it's the world finishing, the mouthless singers. I made the mistake of going back to Danny, Strong Memorial said he was transferred to a long-term sensory deprivation unit, but there's no such unit on record. I bribed a janitor to let me into the basement level where they kept special cases. What I found was a sealed corridor lined with rooms, tiny glass chambers, soundproofed, each containing a single patient. No names, just numbers. And inside, room 9 was Danny, stripped, shaved. His mouth had been sewn shut, but not with thread, with tendon. I swear to God, it looked grown, like the flesh had decided to seal itself. But he was singing, not with his mouth, with his body. His skin vibrated, his chest thumped with unnatural harmonics, like a subwoofer made of meat. Every few seconds, it emitted a tone that I could feel in my blood, a low, wet groan, like a cello being played underwater. All the patients were doing it, and then they all synced up. 12 mouthless people, vibrating in perfect harmony, forming one living chord. The lights dimmed, the hallway tilted. Gravity bent inward like we were being pulled towards something. And then, the speakers in the ceiling burst open, not with sound, with teeth. Dozens of them, gnashing, grinding, chewing nothing. Blood poured from the seams, and a voice came through. We are the choir. The gate sings through us. The flesh remembers its creator I ran. But I brought something with me. The voice in the static. I haven't touched the live stream link since part 4, but it won't stop playing. My laptop turns itself on at 3:33 a.m. The screen flickers, and the audio kicks in. A choir of thousands, humming a note so low it makes my teeth feel like they're being filed down. And in the center of it all, a voice speaks in perfect, impossible clarity. Welcome to the final reconfiguration. This plane will be melted and report. Your mind is a passage. Your memory is a lie. You are the threshold. At first, I thought it was Obscure Zero, but it wasn't. It was me, my own voice, speaking in languages I've never learned, singing hymns I don't remember hearing, but somehow know every note of. And behind my voice, layered in the static, was a final transmission. The final transmission. I ripped the audio, boosted it, slowed it down, and buried beneath everything at minus 66 decibels was a message, one that sounded like it was recorded from inside someone's lungs. It said, "This is not a warning. This is a blueprint. You are being built into something that can endure the next universe. Every star is a scab. The sky is still healing, and you keep scratching. Stop remembering. Start becoming." The sound file corrupted. My hard drive fried. My mouth started to hum on its own. I can't stop it. The ritual blueprint. I trace every site listed in the Narrow Valley Forum. Every ground zero. Turns out each one has a corresponding bone in the human body. Rochester, skull Kyoto, spine London, pelvis Vladivostok, ribs Tonopah, sternum. The cities form a skeleton, and the eclipse, it casts the shadow of a cross through them all, a line from eye to heart, a ritual geometry designed not to summon something in, but to turn Earth itself into a living gate. The final sacrament is belief, not yours, theirs. They don't want us to understand. They want us to feel, to sing, to vibrate with them in harmony until our flesh matches the frequency of whatever's on the other side. Obscure Zero isn't a person, it's a role, a conductor, a virus, a prototype for what we're all becoming. I found the symbol again, not in a book, not online. On the back of my tongue, I bit it off to try to remove it. It grew back. What happens on April 8th? The eclipse will hit Rochester at 3:20 p.m. local time. But that's not the danger. The danger is what it silences. Every gate opens with a tone, a low hum, a chord struck in meat and memory. The eclipse will kill all sound for exactly 4 minutes and 28 seconds. And in that perfect silence, the last layer of the door will peel away. What comes through isn't a creature. It's not Satan, not demons. It's not even a god. It's noise. Raw, living information that unravels you from the inside out, that makes you remember things from before light, before thought, before bodies had names. It will enter every device, every wire, every human ear. If you're listening, when it hits, you become the broadcast. What you need to do, you can't stop this. Don't try. But if you want to survive, here's what you do. Go somewhere dark, completely dark. Seal your ears with wax or resin. Do not allow any sound in. Surround yourself with dead technology, broken radios, crushed phones, uncharged laptops, and most importantly, do not speak. For 4 minutes and 28 seconds, you must become absent. A gap, a silence, a forgotten moment, or you'll be claimed. Goodbye. I can feel them inside me now. They're not monsters. They're not evil. They're echoes. We were the monsters. We dug too deep into the static. Tried to own the light. Tried to touch the silence and call it God. I'm no longer Nate. I am the choir, and I am so happy. When the eclipse comes, you'll hear me. You won't know it's me. You'll think it's the sound your phone makes when it dies, or the buzz in your ear after a concert, or the gentle static of snow falling on old TVs. But it'll be me, and I'll be calling you home.